Influenza, smallpox, measles, plague, the entity with the highest mortality rate in human history, commonly known as the virus. The story begins with a lady who says that fascinating individual she managed to guarantee, while shining a magic ball that lands on Earth. She thinks you choose to be a virus, the rest depends on you. The magic ball lands on the nose of a bush mouse, fixing on the cell membrane. You say that the host's invasion is by the nostrils, invading the inside of the cell, initiating fusion with the membrane, successfully discarding the shell, invading the cell core, creating renoligase, successfully replicating renosequence, preparation for complete ejection, successful infection, control of the possessed organism. Then a man thinks his head hurts and wonders why he's outside. He states that his perspective is also a little wrong and questions whether that is a puddle of water. The man then sees his reflection in the water and comments, shocked, that he is a rat. He asks is he why he looks like that, and mentions that he remembers correctly, was in the office. Suddenly, a plant-like figure attacks birds in the sky. He wonders what that was, has never seen a plant that attacks birds, not to mention birds with 3 legs, and while he eats a bird, he comments not to tell him that it is. And while watching the landscape, you question another world. The man tells us that's right, he remembers now, he was working at his pharmaceutical company. As usual, after everyone came home, he just took the lab for a while, working on his research. And his memory for that. In other words, he must have died after making some kind of mistake. Then suddenly he opened his eyes to see an empty white space and a goddess before him, and turned something like a roulette wheel. The man remembers her saying that in his next life, you will be. Now, virus is what she said. In other words, he now infected this rat by taking control of this body. Although it is absurd for a researcher like him to believe in a goddess, considering his current situation, he must have reincarnated. However, to think that he is the host of a laboratory pussy, and the questions are whether that is karma. Then he comments that while he is like this, he needs to know what he is capable of and questions what he should do. The boy perceives red particles, and that these red particles don't tell him that he can see the virus inside his body. So you ask if each of these particles is a part of it, and if it can take control over a mouse's eyes, then maybe, while you concentrate, then he says he did it, who successfully changed his perspective to that of the virus. So you ask if this is a blood vessel, and you say it's going to be bad if it's found by white blood cells, that you need to get out of here, and that's probably the fenestration. In that case, outside is the cell membrane, and using this. At that moment, he surprisingly questions what, and mentions that something similar to a tumor is emerging from the cell. He adds that a group of his copies are being born from the cells. It's a pretty disgusting sight. Then he asks one of his copies if she can speak, and realizes that, apparently, only he has a will of his own. Why would he be the only one to possess a will? He was supposed to run this huge army of viruses, and how do they respond to orders, say everyone follows him? Somehow a large number of them meet. They can be controlled from a distance to a certain point, that is certain, but still having consciousness and collective action of viruses, modern common sense does not apply here. Understanding the limits of this skill seems quite difficult even for a former researcher like him. Suddenly, there's an ad, which indicates the traits in the current possessions, the potency of infection I, domination I, duplication I, to which he asks what the hell this ad is. He claims that they do not tell him that these are his abilities. After infecting the rat, he doubled inside the body and became able to dominate the host's body, in which case he must dominate a host with high vitality. A new announcement is made, which in addition, the complete infection of the tree mouse, wrote the cowardice I skills and perception of danger I in Rana. The man comments that cowardice and danger and asks if these were the skills of the rat, and that writing in the Rina means that he was able to copy the abilities of this rat by infecting it enough. In conclusion, the more living beings he infects, the greater his repertoire becomes. Then he claims that if that is true, then it has become very fascinating. He adds that he has never seen an organism evolve so quickly in the modern world. Depending on how you use this skill, You can even become the most sinister living thing in history, he must state it immediately. He then says by chance and asks if his ability also works on plants and decides to test. A message is disclosed that acquired skills, fever relief I, pain relief I, as he comments that a yes works on plants. He adds that, relief from fever and pain relief, these skills are quite convenient, but the wind. But before he finishes his sentence, he realizes there's a secondary infection in another plant, and questions what kind of skill he'll get next. He comments that the skill acquisition announcement did not appear. Maybe his infection power is too weak to acquire skills through secondary infections, he needs to research more about it. And at that moment, has disconcerted at the plant when he announces that he's still a weak rat. But there's no doubt she hides unimaginable potential. Then he claims that apparently on Earth, smallpox spread like a human disease about 10 years ago. But in this world, he is the very origin. The guy who worked with therapeutics against viruses reincarnated as a virus himself. It's only fair he thinks it's time, he was bored with his previous life anyway, if he keeps increasing his viral skills. The one he thinks that in this world, he can become the source of a new pandemic and guarantee complete dominion. Man then says, it is a mystery if this world even possesses humans. While the ability activation is announced and he gets the danger perception look, suddenly he feels sweat drops on his back and asks what that chill was in his spine. Then he looks up and realizes as a wolf. He announces that it is bad if he does not escape quickly, because an announcement states that cowardice has been activated. He questions, this can't be happening, and mentions that the moment of activation of this skill in a place like this. That means your life as a virus will end. Meanwhile, the goddess watches the scene and says that you chose to be a virus, or maybe you were chosen by a virus. In the past, a man asks someone what he intends to do by staying in the lab all day. Another man answers that he said something like researching a new kind of virus, and the other one asks, is that even safe? He asks who knows, and mentions that he is very clumsy and does not speak much. You better not get involved with him. The virus asks for memories from its previous world and claims that it finally reincarnated, so don't remind him of his past, and questions what he was doing again. Then he remembers being eaten by that wolf along with his host mouse, even though he reincarnated into an interesting virus, and he asks, will his life end right here? He still says, what if he reincarnates again into a human just to repeat the same monotonous work and end up like this? So he screams angry, like he's gonna end it like this. The wolf casts a burp, and he says she's the one who forced him to do it while invoking the power of trace infection, and tells all his clones of viruses that were eaten by the wolf that's his order. The virus then announces that, spreading through the wolf's body, through the blood vessels, they will conquer it as well. Take advantage of the wolf's cells to multiply their numbers. She won't be able to stop them all. At this moment, the wolf is asleep, and he says the wolf is almost completely infected. He thinks the timing is propitious, tricetamine drug, I activate. An announcement is made that acquired skills, agility, endurance, ferocity, and he thinks that ads seem to come from far beyond his perspective to be higher than before. The virus realizes that its mouth stinks. And they don't tell it, it's from moments ago, but it still tastes like it. That means he successfully took the wolf's body. So he announces that he did, to think his last resort would actually succeed. However, this is a great discovery. Even if his host dies, if he can infect another living organism, he won't die. Then he comments that really, calling this perpetual youth and longevity is not an exaggeration. While running through the forest, he claims that this is fascinating. He must find other organisms and infect them immediately. But it's still very difficult to find other living beings, so he sniffs out some creatures. There's a lot out there, but none of them dare to approach him, and questions if that's how high-level this wolf is, since he feels full of energy compared to his time as a mouse. But still, it's boring being a creature from your past world with just a few changes in appearance. He claims he would have preferred to be something unique. For example, some fantasy creatures like dragons or goblins, and right now he notices the goblins. He asks if this is really happening and says that they are relatively small, similar to those of fantasy novels, and questions whether this world is connected to the fantasy world of his previous life. So he claims that whatever it is, it's a new species you'll never see in modern times. After a while, he sees the goblins again and comments that not this again, they're too stubborn, but wait a second, it's that voice. He hears a girl saying that, although she's a rookie, she's still an adventurer, she can't be defeated here, and the virus says shocked that she's a human. The girl fights a goblin, and he questions if the goblins are attacking her. Judging by her appearance, she is not of the modern world. Not only does she have worn-out equipment, but she is also exhausted. On the other hand, the goblins are still very much alive. He decides that, for him, this is an ideal situation. Now that he has confirmed the existence of humans, for his future research, a human body is needed. He says that first we will get the skills of goblins and possess the human without losing pace. While they do that, let's also try that. He thinks by combining the agility of the rat's ability with the ferocity of the wolf. In doing so, a wolf is born with the skills of a mouse. After that, we will test the waters immediately. He feels light and his nerves are calm, probably by the effect of ferocity. In that instant, he bites one of the goblins and acquires an explosive mood. The adventuress shockingly claims that by no means a large gray wolf either, while he says it has quite bad taste. Another goblin tries to attack him. But he swerves and thinks his body is light. Totally different from a researcher of about 30 years when attacking the goblin. He then gets night vision, while the girl says it's not just some gray wolf, because the last goblin runs away. Viruses say it'll be problematic if he gets close to the human, because it can be too persecuted. Maybe he just infects you and steals your skills while launching your clones towards the goblin. He gets dexterity and comments that it seems to be a versatile skill, and then approaches the girl while she tells him not to approach. Viruses smell it and claim that even if you're exhausted, she's not that hurt, he can use your body. But on second thought, he hardly knows this world, if by chance their medical knowledge is advanced. Infecting this girl can lead to your discovery and elimination. He mustn't do anything yet, until he learns more about this world. But a human body is ideal for gathering information. While the girl asks if he wants to eat her, the virus thinks he's thinking about it now, which she asks if he, by any chance. You saved her from danger, and you thank her so much as you hold her. He walks away in fear, but the girl asks what's wrong, not to be afraid and come to her. So the virus questions what the hell is wrong with this careless, stupid creature. The girl says all this is thanks to the wolf's hand. She was thinking of diverting. She did not think the live combat was difficult, and the movements of the wolf's hand are a useful reference, since he lives in this dangerous area, and asks if he, consequently, trains every day. After that, the girl says she really loves eating tasty food, but it's hard to find it in the woods. While the virus wonders how long does this girl plan to keep talking to an animal like that. The virus says you don't understand. Are all humans in the world like her? He thought he might hear some important information about this world. But all she's doing is talking nonsense. Alina apologizes she ended up talking too much. Starting again, she's an adventurer named Alina. She thanks Wolfson for saving her earlier, and he thinks, that adventurer, she said something useful at last. Virus then narrates that, with the knowledge of their previous life, they are people who earn rewards by defeating monsters. Collecting medicinal herbs and other things is a very dangerous job, and asks why a teenage girl is doing it alone. Alina claims she became an adventurer 2 weeks ago, but apparently she has no talent for it. Even goblins, who are the least ranked among monsters, were too much for her. He believes they did not show resistance to their attacks, which means they probably have a low rating. If so, then this girl is extremely weak, while Alina says that everyone in the Guild of Adventurers ignored her. Then she ended up adventuring herself. Virus thinks that if she wants to get stronger, it would be an interesting experiment trying to strengthen her with her viral skills. After that, Alina leans towards him and kisses his nose, and says that's why Wolfson is his first partner. She explains that it's been a long time since she talked to anyone. She couldn't stop talking and she was very excited, while he says it's very intimate and she's away from her. He adds that it was close, and in his previous world, this would have been totally a criminal case. Virus then narrates that, in fact, this human's brain is a flower garden, while she realizes it's getting dark and comments that this is bad. She then apologizes to Wolfson, since it gets dangerous after sunset, she should be back in town soon, it really hurts to leave him. To what Virus mentions that for now, we will accompany her to the city, it is a priority to know what kind of place she lives. Alina calls for him and blushes when she asks if he will see her leave, then says Wolfson is such a gentle gentleman. On the way back, she tells him that before becoming an adventurer, she worked in a field in her village. Since it was a small village, everyone was like a family since she was born. But his village was destroyed by goblins. But everyone's lives were saved, yet the village was in ruins and could not resist another attack, so they had to move to a new land. That's why she was complaining earlier. After that, Alina says she won't give up becoming an adventurer, she'll be strong enough to protect everyone from her village alone. Even if she looks weak, she trusts the field work that demands strength, and he says he sees it. He thinks he also wanted to invent medicine for people from his previous world, but he was so fascinated by it that people treated him like an eccentric, and he began to hate people. Even if this girl was marginalized in the same way, she kept moving forward. Alina then announces that they arrived as they arrived to their village, the city of Faust. She asks if the city is big, since she still doesn't remember the way. He tells us that this is much bigger than I expected. He had never seen such facilities in his previous life, as I thought infecting people recklessly would be. But Alina interrupts him and says, as much as she wants to invite him to the inn as a thank you. So the virus realizes that a monster entering a city would cause trouble and tells him not to worry about it. Just move on. Alina nods to him and claims he will never forget that kindness. She's sure they'll meet again someday. As she walks away, he comments that there she goes. You haven't spoken to anyone in a while. If she plans to be an adventurer, they can meet again. But then the virus realizes something and wonders if it can also be an adventurer. He explains that an adventurer has the opportunity to travel and interact with all kinds of creatures. It's the perfect way to improve and acquire more skills. However, this body is your biggest problem. He needs a body that's discreet and healthy. He tells us he can't infect Alina. He can't impersonate her because she talks too much. Someone who knows her would see through him. The virus then questions about an unidentified corpse. But he doesn't even want to think about it, since he doesn't even know if the bodies can move. He gets to the edge of the cliff and then notices some more goblins. He announces that although he wants to acquire new skills, his primary priority is to secure a human body. That said, finding humans inside the forest is, but then it says to wait a moment and think about humans. He questions humanoid monsters and if he should just take control of a goblin, put on a hood and pass himself as a human to enter the city. Virus claims he could try, but there are 5 of them. Things can get complicated if he's surrounded, but right now, he realizes that one of the goblins is already infected. He sees it's the goblin he infected, and he ran away when he saved Alina. Virus adds that it's a different story if your clones have already infiltrated your body. We will quickly take control of your body. But then he asks how he does it again. He managed to take control of the wolf by being eaten along with the mouse and questions whether he should let them eat it intentionally, and mentions that although it is an experience he does not want to go through again, it cannot be avoided. On second thought, when he first got here, he managed to change his perspective to that of a virus, concentrating enough. After all, each virus is a part of itself, in this case, and asks whether it cannot move its consciousness to a virus that infects any organism. His thinking of focusing on his clones inside that goblin, focus, virus in goblin's body, and announces that you did it, it was a success. He thinks that when he was a virus, he didn't think much about it. But looking at them from that angle, they're scary, and when one of them approaches him, he wonders if he's done anything weird. The goblin then orders him to deliver the bag, which surprises him. He delivers the bag while he narrates that although they are just basic words, he can understand their language, and wonders if it is because he has taken over his brain. One goblin claims the wolf attacked him, so terrible, terrible. Then a female goblin gives him a plant and says that this herb calms his mind, he must eat. She tells you not to push too hard while he thinks she's so kind. The virus then wonders what happened to the wolf, but in that instant he sees it. He seems confused, which means that after he released him, his original consciousness seems to have taken control again. The wolf then watches them and growls, to which the goblins shout that it is terrible, that they should run fast. As he strikes towards them, the virus curses, as he realizes that it is difficult to run with those feet in this case. He then acquires resistance along with agility, while they're running away from the wolf, and then they manage to escape safely. One goblin says that finally they are faster than the wolf, to what the virus calls them simpletons, and says it is thanks to him, and another goblin adds with anger that the wolf deserves it. Then the virus explains that, however, knowing that your symptoms may appear in other infected creatures is a huge discovery. This may apply in several situations. Following the gang to get used to it is quite interesting, while another goblin shouts that, with energy still, they can continue toward the house, while the virus, inside, tells them to praise their resistance, and calls them commoners, now standing in front of a cave to which one of the goblins announces home. The virus tells us that they are using a cave as their nest, however. Their condition is deplorable, most are malnourished, wearing only one thong. While one of the goblins comments that the boss is angry, the virus questions the boss. After that, they tell the hobgoblin the boss who returned, to which he replies that they are late. Virus says it looks like a corpulent goblin, the size of a human, and asks if that's what they call a hobgoblin. Hobgoblin then asks if this is all the prey, to which they answer yes, and mentions that orcs stole his prey, so nothing was left. He then says that they must attack human villages, to which Virus questions internally if they can do this, while goblins respond that humans are strong, so they cannot beat them. Virus mentions that with that structure, it would be okay to infiltrate the city. The green skin could be hidden with clothes, and clearly it has more vitality than goblins. After that, Hobgoblin kicks one of them away and asks angry why they think they're still alive. He calls them useless groups and mentions his hungry. But then Virus tells him to search for food alone, to which the hobgoblin asks what he said, and the virus thinks it's okay, he fell into the trap. So the virus says that begging for food while he's lazy, has like a spoiled child, has no good, while he decides has going to infect him with his virus-filled breath. At this moment, an announcement is made, saying that virus resistance detected, only a short period of time is available to perform an infection, which shocks the virus. The virus, shocked, says that the level of resistance to the virus, wait, no one told him anything about it, while the hobgoblin holds his face and says he sure has the courage to go against it. This place won't last long because of the orcs, while the virus thinks that Drug, who knew that the time needed for the infection differs from target to target. The virus is thinking of accelerating, while the hobgoblin mentions that it is no longer used for it. He'll leave this place on his own, while there's an announcement saying that the duplication inside the host body is beginning. Then the hobgoblin claims it will only be eaten by the orcs here, so it is announced that the hobgoblin kidnapping was successful. The virus announces that it's going to eat him before that, that's what he used to think so far. But you changed your mind, they're all friends, we're going to get along. The virus gets the skills, brute force, sharp claws and patience. He is surprised and announces that all these skills seem useful in battle no less than the leader of a group. But in that instant, a goblin comes in screaming emergency outside orcs. Outside, the leader of the orcs says this is their land, leave immediately. Virus tells us no, the difference in battle force is too great. It's not like he doesn't understand Hobgoblin's feelings before he kidnaps him. Normally, he'd leave these people behind if he didn't have his infection skills. After that, He narrates that this immense amount of living organisms not only can increase their arsenal and control, but also is the perfect testing field for all their different abilities. Virus claims that if the situation gets difficult, we'll run away using agility, but these goblins are so scared they're useless. He says he needs to play the role of an inspiring leader here. They should cheer up after hearing his special speech. So he announces that everyone listen, they're all strong, so support him with all your strength and don't be cowards, protect your own home on your own, and after that, okay? The message was passed on to the goblins in a clear and high way. Stamina, agility, strength, and dexterity are all activated. Virus claims that it seems his infectivity cannot activate all useful abilities at once. But no, for now, these skills are enough. But before he finishes his sentence, the goblins become ferocious creatures. The change is more dramatic than he imagined, and if that is the effect of brute force, he mentions that they will surely be suspicious at this point. Meanwhile, the goblins announce that they become powerful with the support of the hobgoblins, even their bodies get big. It's a great feeling. Virus thinks it's good that they're simple and says, anyway, now they must begin the first experiment on a large scale after their reincarnation. The leader of the orcs questions what's going on, if it's body-strengthening magic, but he doubts they're smart enough to do it. Virus comments that all right, now they are equally equated, not only in numbers, but also in physical strength. There is an announcement that new symptoms have been discovered: secrecy, evasion, fatigue, hunger, weakness, and Virus mentions that the symptoms all appeared at once after he infected them. Then the symptoms mutated: short temper 12, night vision 12, dexterity 12, and asks if it means winning duplicates will strengthen the symptoms. He explains that by infecting more orcs, he can get even more symptoms, in this case, and asks if he is not invincible. Virus laughs and asks the leader what happened to all that vigor a moment ago, that these pigs lost all the nerve. The leader calls him a vile goblin and shouts that, even if they look different, they are still goblins, they are no match for them. But as one of the orcs advances, Virus attacks and cuts him in half with his sword. Goblins are shocked because they claim that Hobgoblin is better than usual. He killed the orc with one blow, as the leader says, which was quick. Virus tells us that he was concerned if he could handle a sword properly or not. But thanks to Dexterity 2 you manage it very well. Besides, instead of getting scared, he gets all excited, while the leader says that this goblin, that's unacceptable, and at this moment new symptoms are discovered, which are stubborn, strong arm, natural healing, willpower, pain suppression, and frenzy. Virus comments that it has gained many excellent symptoms. After all, orcs are monsters of higher rating than goblins. However, the orcs are no match for them after he used his bluffs on all. After that, new symptoms of manipulation, fatigue recovery, and robustness were discovered, and the leader tells one of the orcs to bring what they captured yesterday. The orc responds that they just captured him recently, as still untrained. He might end up attacking them too. But the leader screams to hurry. There's no way an orc could lose to a goblin. Symptoms, fatigue and anemia have been discovered. The virus claims that since they are already infected, negative symptoms can also develop within them. They provided more benefits than disadvantages. However, in order to play with others in this way, this must make it some kind of god. This is a divine punishment for his greed. It would be rude to prolong a fight that has already been won. So now he just. But at that moment, there is thunder, which shocks him to think that there is no cloud in sight. However, there is thunder, and he realizes that something is coming from the forest. A bear shows up, and he wonders what that huge bear is, where the thunder came from. A goblin announces it's an electric bear, while Virus comments that he probably takes advantage of the power of electric currents. An orc screams at the electric beer, saying those guys are delicious, so eat them all. But when the bear attacks him instead, Virus screams the thing is not trained at all, and by the power of that lightning, the orcs are being turned into coal. They hate the idea of losing to them so much. The orcs are pretty proud, while a goblin tells him that the electric bears are the number one here, they need to escape, which confuses him. Virus says there's no way he's gonna lose. Besides, that electricity sounds like an interesting skill. He definitely wants it. He won't run away from a treasure like that. He may seem strong, but it's a totally different story after he infects him. Still, as with the leprechaun, he will need to be alert, because induction will take some time to happen. So he sends a goblin to give you his spear. He stuck himself with the spear while claiming that getting too close would be dangerous, so he will simply spread some infected blood on the spear and stick it in that electric beer, throwing the spear at him. To his shock, he realizes she's been repelled and questions how hard that coat is. New symptoms of resistance to electricity, sharp claws, blade-proof fur are discovered. So the virus comments that it has acquired some skills. The spear may not have penetrated, but the blood must have entered into his eyes. In that case he will send his conscience into his body. But then he yells he can't get close enough to the monster. The virus says that the resistance to lightning could not avoid all the damage, and the goblins who have no resistance to lightning. While the goblins are fleeing the bear, he thinks that with his current symptoms, he can't save them. The virus realizes it must escape. It has become very complacent in its ability. He can't afford to lose this body. If he uses those guys as bait, he's sure to escape. But right now, he suddenly attacks the bear, because you think you can't believe you did something so illogical. The bear bites your arm, and he thinks that incredible strength. His right arm was useless, but is still ready to go on. In relation to an aerial infection, the virus is destroyed by electricity before reaching the body. After he launched the spear earlier, part of the virus managed to enter his body through his eyes, and he acquired some skills with it. Therefore, in short, it is totally possible that electric bear electricity only covers the surface of your body and not the interior. Having that in mind, if your blood flows directly into your body, an announcement is made that as many negative symptoms as possible have been activated. Anemia, hunger, fatigue, starvation, weakness and symptoms, electrocution, electricity absorption and shock resistance were acquired. Then the virus realizes that the negative symptoms worked. A new announcement that an outbreak of symptoms, sharp claws, physical manipulation, blade-resistant hair, strong arm, superhuman strength was applied to itself, is done. He thinks has gained a multitude of lightning-related symptoms. That lightning will no longer work on him. Then he attacks the bear, and the symptoms of magical power generation, electromagnetic discharge, and fury were discovered, while he announces he did. The virus thinks he did it. He wasn't overconfident, as the strongest there is, but as he falls to the ground, the worried goblins say the Sama hobgoblin is injured. After a while, the goblins tell the virus to look, the spoils of today, so many. The virus tells us that since the problem with the Electrobear 3 days ago has been living with the goblins, apparently, now that the orcs are gone, they can gather a lot of food. The injury he had suffered would normally prevent someone from living a normal life. However, in just 3 days he managed to recover, thanks to the effects of symptoms, healing and vitality. So he claims that the symptoms he had put in the goblins were also deactivated if any human noticed their mutations, while the goblins tell him to eat this. Delicious, while they give him a fruit. But he responds that he is fine, they must eat. The goblins answer that they want the hobgoblin to eat it, and announce that they love it. Viruses smile while claiming that many people, or rather, is the first time they are loved by so many goblins. He is beginning to think that spending time as a boss there is not so bad. So a goblin announces that they found something strange, and he asks what it is. Virus then thinks, but now that it has become a virus, he feels he wants to invade everywhere. He holds a mask, and thinks that if he uses it as a face, he might be able to disguise himself as a human. The goblins ask the virus if he's really right, what he answers with a yes, and apologizes. He tells us that clothes from this world are hard to wear, and asks, "Is this how you dress?" Virus claims that the last fight taught him that he is not strong enough, that he is going on a journey to improve himself. The goblins comment that the hobgoblin Sama is already strong enough, and beg him not to leave them, but Virus responds that he is having difficulty leaving them here. He never thought he'd end up clinging to these goblins. It's like that nostalgic feeling of leaving his pet dog behind. One of the goblins gives him a coat, saying it is the coat of the electric bear, very resistant, hot, and can be used in various ways. Virus explains that they are already strong, they fought equally with those orcs. He thought he could trust them with the place while traveling. He says to stay there waiting for him. He'll definitely come back. Then the goblin announces that they understand, the hobgoblin Sama will return, they are strong, so he tells them not to worry. Virus tells the goblins has trusting them, as he tells them the orcs are gone. Has developed enough symptoms on these guys to avoid human suspicions, which will help them protect themselves. If Hez in the area, maybe he'll come back to take a look at them. Then they wave at him saying goodbye and wishing him good luck. Virus claims that for the time being, his goal is the city of Foss, which Alina spoke to him. Even if she finds Alina again, she wouldn't recognize him outside her wolf form. So if he becomes an adventurer, maybe he'll have a chance to talk to her again. In fact, before that, he wonders if it really looked human, and if this outfit is not too suspicious. So far, has managed to disguise his green skin. Besides, has trained to talk in the last few days. It's not that hard to understand. So, he announces that he's starting to worry about getting into town like this, wants to be completely sure before he tries to get in. But how can he? Right now, Virus notices a carriage being attacked by a pack of wolves. One of the writers comments that these guys keep coming and asks if they're targeting the cargo, because they can't handle so many alone. Then a secret feature is acquired by Virus when attacking the wolves, which shocks the knights. A knight then tells him to identify himself, while Virus narrates that it seems that the secret works well in the forest, and then decides to try to talk to them. Virus, hesitating, says hello. They can communicate, I'm here to help them, and in reply, he narrates that they didn't realize he's a goblin. The writer comments that yet, being so scared that he cannot speak properly, he cannot let someone like that fight, run and hide, while a wolf tries to attack Virus from behind. The wolf bites the Virus, which he screams at is annoying, and tells him to stop interrupting their conversation, since he kills him easily. The knights comment that it is very strong, and the Virus says how worrying it is. If their clothes are torn, they will notice their green skin. He should develop some negative symptoms in the wolves, and then bring them down quickly. So the Virus attacks the wolves, and a knight says they'll help too. But the Virus tells them to wait, and in that instant, their clones spread unwittingly towards the knight. It gets symptoms discovered, which are defense reflexes, kinetic vision and serenity, and the Virus then screams that he made a mistake and accidentally infected a human. What should he do? He still doesn't know the medical state of this world. It is entirely possible that if the virus is discovered, a vaccine can be developed, and it will be eradicated, and you wonder what it should do. The knight says the Grey Wolves are retreating. It's all thanks to him, his fight was incredible, that force on his arm was superhuman, and mentions that he must be a famous swordsman. Then they ask the virus if it's not too much to ask, if they could see his face, and ask what his name is. But right now, a man jumps out of the carriage and, smiling, announces that he really helped them out there. Hez not sure what would have happened if he had been here, and he thanks Virus from the bottom of his heart. Virus watches the guy and wonders who that was in the carriage. A knight calls the guy Roy and asks if he is unharmed, to which he answers yes, thanks to all of them. The cargo is also secure. Then Roy says that when the carriage fell, he thought his luck was over, but it seems he had a very happy date. Has a merchant at Valkyrie. His name is Roy and Hart, and he tells Virus that the smell coming from this specially ordered meat must have attracted the wolves on their way to town, and the escorts were already exhausted from the journey. The Virus questions the word merchant and tells that his clothes are good, his carriage is beautiful, and his business seems to be going well, in other words. He hit the jackpot, since it's currently broken, and he asks, isn't that what follows the pattern of getting a reward after they get to town? Roy says that even if they were tired, they shouldn't have been taken by surprise by the Grey Wolves. Besides, the way the virus fought was something completely different. Has seen a lot of adventurers in his life, But that was the first time he saw someone fight like that. Instead of recklessness, he had an overwhelming confidence in the ability to sustain her. When he saw that he even had enough strength, he was absolutely delighted. The virus wonders what that is, as a friendly person without that typical display of rich people, while Roy adds that it is as if he was completely fearless in the face of death. The virus tells us that it terrorized him, it was just a metaphor, but since as a virus, unless has completely exterminated, he won't disappear, that's how it is. But on a related note, medicine, he needs to ask casually how medicine works here, since he says has right, and asks Roy if a lot of people have been sick lately, if is feeling well. Roy answers that it is certainly true that miasma has been circulating around cities lately, making people sick, and monocrystals have also begun to appear, causing mineral diseases in people close to them. To which the virus wonders about miasma, mineral diseases, and questions what they are. He questions if they are native diseases of this world. Perhaps, for now, let's just ask about it. So he asks Roy, maybe, about viruses. Roy is stunned to hear that, and laughs, saying a virus. Has never heard of a virus before, and then apologizes for his lack of knowledge. But as soon as the virus hears that, he panics and claims that no way, they don't know what a virus is. The virus tells us he doesn't look like a guy with no sense, which means the viruses haven't been discovered yet, or maybe viruses beyond him don't even exist. Then he tells Roy that the viruses are crystals that have been discovered recently, minerals, that's what they are, in Roy's comments, is a very strange name for it. The virus then realizes that if viruses don't exist in this world, or haven't been discovered yet, then he can do whatever he wants, and ask if he can't. He claims that those soldiers were very good. At this point, any symptom he could get from the human would be valuable. He already infected one of them. Has sure no one would care if he got some more. If it increases the density of the virus, it may end up acquiring new symptoms, and at that moment, he gets discovered symptoms of combat instincts, evasion, composure, and intuition. And he comments shocked that it worked, and all these seem to have many uses. But then is shocked to ask what, and says these are some disturbing symptoms. He then asks Roy if these guys are his subordinates, to which Roy mentions that besides the coachman, no one else is a company employee. They're just hired mercenaries as escorts. Even though he hired them, he was the one who saved him. Has not sure why he hired them in the first place, while Virus thinks of a hired mercenary and finds it suspicious enough. He then comments shocked that there are still more symptoms, and they are clarity of mind, negotiation, persuasion, and appeasement. So questions whether these symptoms are not much of a soldier, and says not to tell him. He ended up infecting this guy, too, since Roy claims he wanted the window open because it's hot in here. Virus realizes that maybe spreading the virus in such a tight space wasn't a great idea. But there's not much difference if it's 4 or 5. They are also very mercantile symptoms. The list of skills seems to be useful, since he will live in a city from now on. Then he tells that based on the symptoms he received, he must be a successful trader. It's possible his being targeted by business rivals, so the mercenaries are suspecting in case he ends up saving his life again. While he imagines receiving a reward from Roy, he claims that if he ends up saving his life again, while Roy says as happy he can't believe he saved him twice, he'll have to thank him twice as much. Virus transmits that he can earn the expenses necessary for his research, here and now. He then tells Roy he wanted to discuss a suspicious guy among the mercenaries, while Roy says it looks like they're here. As he probably already knows, this is the city of Faust, and Virus narrates that this is the second time it is presented to this place. Roy then comments that he apologizes, but please wait a moment, the contract with the escorts only lasts here, and Virus questions, shocked that they're splitting up, if he was wrong to believe that this guy's life was in danger. Roy tells Virus he's sorry to keep him waiting, is deeply grateful to him for saving his life, he wanted to give him that in gratitude, to what Virus expects to be money. He gives you a card, and explains that this card is given only to special individuals within the Valkyrie company, to what Virus thinks is not exactly what he had in mind. Roy says you can use this card to get discounts on the products his company provides, and whenever you need to contact him, you can simply show it. Virus tells us that he sees that this is quite convenient when he thinks about it. It still has no connections, so having a network can be more profitable than simply receiving money. Then, Virus tells Roy he's new in town, so he doesn't know anyone, and if he gets in trouble, he'll count on him for help. Roy replies that, of course, for the one who saved his life, he will come running at any moment. To what Virus thinks he is such a nice guy that he feels a little guilty for enjoying his kindness. However, he narrates that a merchant's skills will be useful. He will accept any skill he has as he gets new symptoms and then wonders what else they could be. They are murder mufflement, invisibility, secrecy, presence detection, presence concealment, aptitude for shadow magic, and acting. Right now, Roy delivers to Virus a bag of money, but Virus mentions that it may seem rude on his part, but if it's not a nuisance, that won't be necessary. He can't accept money for a good deed. Suddenly remembered something he needed to do, and he hurriedly said goodbye and ran away. Virus tells us he was careless. All those disturbing symptoms he received in the carriage belong to Roy, so if he wants to live in peace, he can't get involved with that kind of person. Meanwhile, Roy screams that it's his first time in town, which exactly could be so urgent. And then you wonder if Virus suspected anything. Roy claims that, well, he seems to have some secrets that he can't let anyone else find out either, so he thinks they're going to get along, and is looking forward to working with him in the future. The Virus says that when he found out he was a killer, he ran away, but really didn't need to. He had already infected him. If he got to a fight, he would definitely have the advantage, but since he had never seen a killer before, panicking was absolutely normal. He is completely exhausted now. First things, he must look around the city and find a place to rest. Still, this really is another world. Just look at all the different races, has interested in seeing what kinds of symptoms he'll get from it, and suddenly a man comes along who says, "Dear guest, please hold." The Virus notes that he's like a hobbit or a dwarf, and the dwarf says he's standing outside their 3-star establishment with such dirty laundry. He wants to stay here. He must be joking. They don't have rooms for someone as obviously suspicious as he does. In another place, a cat person asks if he wants to stay there and mentions that he seems a little too suspicious. Then an elf tells him that he can stay there, be as clean as a dove or look like he just murdered someone, but those who can't pay are out of the question. If he wants to stay there, he should bring some money with him, while he decides he just wants to go back to the goblin's nest. He tells the elf that he has no money, but he has things to sell, so the elf answers that they only take money here. Hearing this, the Virus realizes that the civilized world really is a terrible place to live. The elf then reports that the Guild of Adventurers can buy his coat for some money, and if rumors start circulating that he let him stay there for free, that would be problematic later. So if he comes back with some money, he'll let him stay, even if he comes a little short, Virus narrates. So there are some decent guys after all, and later, he's in the Guild of Adventurers. He realizes that the atmosphere is like a bar on a Friday night, so the adventurers who just got paid can also relax here. This is a very interesting business model. The Virus says if he spreads the virus here, he'd have a lot of symptoms, but maybe it would be better if he didn't make big moves until he understood the city a little more. As people are looking at him, he believes he's standing out too much right now. He needs to hurry up and trade the coat for gold to get out, so he wonders where to trade it. Just then, a woman beckons to him, and he recounts that a beautiful big sis woman is waving to him. He greets her, and she asks if it's his first time, to what he agrees. She gives him an adventurer registration form, and he answers that he waits a while, which is from the inside, so he has no id, but she says it's okay. The Guild of Adventurers works on the basis of the principle of total meritocracy. All are welcome here, even those with special circumstances like him. Then she asks him to say his name so she can register him. When he hears it, he stutters, and then he says Hes Walker Parasite. He claims Walker was an English name from his previous life, and thinks Parasite was the French pronunciation of parasite. While the name was something he thought was impromptu, sounds kind of decent. Parasite Walker. She sees, here's her 6th grade card and the label. If he raises his level to 4th year, he can also conveniently use his card as an identity document. Starting alone is very difficult, but the parasitison seems pretty strong, so it will start to be approached by groups in a short time, and says he looks like a novice with a lot of potential. Walker looks at your card and claims it looks like a dog tag. The receptionist then says that, as this is his first time, she will help him to choose a request and asks if he would like to start collecting some freighting medicinal herbs, and he could also try to collect the horns of the Schiff rabbit rating E. Walker asks before anything if he can sell that coat, although it is a little dirty. She comments that he has picked something before registering. As an adventurer, she knew he had potential, but then, by holding the coat, she is speechless. It can't be. The coat of the Electro Bears that they requested for subjugation, this is their coat. The adventurers in the building hear it, so they start talking and questioning and electrifying. A lady then asks, but how exactly did he get it? To which Walker replies that he defeated him alone. He wonders if he did something wrong and claims he was a monster destined to be subdued. That's bad. He feels like has drawn too much attention to you. The receptionist answers that there's no problem with it. It's just that the Elect Bears are demonic beasts too powerful to fight alone then. So Walker announces that he apologizes, he was just showing off, took 20 people to defeat him, and tells us he's not lying. It took 20 goblins to do that, some people died, so it was hard to finish it, but they succeeded. Walker asks her how you feel about this, a potential rookie, right? She smiles and replies yes, as long as he completes the request, their team will not interfere in the details, since he has brought enough evidence. This is the reward for subjugation. The adventurers continue to look at Virus, while he recounts that he is so happy to have been able to exchange it. While thinking, Hes still not good at interacting with other people. Has been overly prominent, so he should hurry up and get out of here, yet they didn't really end up digging up more details about him. This makes him think, perhaps the reason why the guild does this is related to the fact that they accept people without any identification, and even criminals. The employee seems to be a kind person, but she must be quite skilled too, since she has some scratches. You can see how hard she trains, even if she's wearing clothes, as sure if she infected her, she'd have some new symptoms. She then apologizes, because there's someone else in line, which surprises him. But once he turns around, he's shocked to see it's Elena. Elena asks Walker if he's finished, what he answers nervously, of course. Elena asks the employee also about this, to which she answers that question of the group. She apologizes. It seems there are still no groups that would like to join her, and Elena answers that she understands. Walker hears that and claims she's going alone. When one considers the strength of adventurers here, it is understandable that it is seen as a risk. He feels bad for her, but a guild like this, with such a violent atmosphere, is not a suitable place for a child. Has sure she'd do better working the farm. It's lucky he didn't call for her. As Elena comes out of the guild, a man calls her. Walker believes she's being recruited and internally tells her to stop it, not to do something so unnecessary, while Elena announces her name, Gajiru. Gajiru asks if she has ever found a group, and she answers no, while Walker claims that the girls are simply not prepared for such a dangerous job. Gajiru says he feels for her, he can't afford to bring in new recruits right now. Still, that doesn't mean he can abandon the brighty dreamer who came from the field. In that case, as he said before, he could introduce her to another job while pulling her near him. She pushes him away and says she already rejected him last time, and Walker comments that she doesn't think she's being recruited to their group. He would love to help you get out of this, but he wants to avoid standing out for the time being. There are already a lot of people here, so someone with a strong sense of justice will help you. Then a man tells Elena that she's to be congratulated and asks if she won't earn 10 times as much as just picking herbs, that she won't have to go back to her village, and even if she wanted to go home, maybe she couldn't. Walker wonders why no one is helping her. What an unpleasant situation. Gajiru tells Elena that we're going there and asks why she doesn't try at least once while holding her. Alina screams at him to let her go, while Walker remembers she told him she was going to be a great adventurer and protect everyone. Then Walker tells Gajiru the girl doesn't like it. Stop it. Hear this. Gajiru looks angry at Walker. Gajiru questions what's wrong with him. That voice, his voice sounds disgusting like that of a goblin. An outsider, like he should back off unless he wanted to get hurt, and Walker answers that as a member of that girl's group. Gajiru asks who in good conscience would be a member of a group with garbage like her, and comments that he understood, as on the same line of business. Someone so useless is just to be sold, but still, he got to her first, so get out while trying to punch Walker. But right now, Walker grabs Gajiru's hand and tells him to apologize to her. Gajiru wonders what is with his strength, but no, he is the almighty Gajiru-sama, his strength is superior. But in that instant, Walker infects him with his clones. This causes the beginning of magical power generation and electromagnetic discharge, causing Gajiru to fall to the ground, and his friend asks what is wrong. His friend thinks this guy, he thought he was a fighter, but is actually a lightning wizard. Still, there's no way he can lose, has the fastest conjurer in the guild, before he can do anything. So he tries to attack Walker, but Walker easily blocks it, while the guy realizes he used lightning magic without reciting anything. Another guy tries to attack Walker, claiming that in hand-to-hand combat he has the advantage, but Walker defeats the guy, to which he questions Walker if he feels no pain. People in the guild wonder what just happened, how Gajiru lost, who this guy is, while Alina thinks about Walker. Then Walker apologizes, claiming he did something inappropriate, he really feels sorry for doing it, and then he comes out of the guild. Alina runs after him and says she's really grateful for what he did. That's why it might be embarrassing for her to ask, but if it's okay with him, would he like to form a real group with her? Alina asks if he's willing to form a group with her, while Walker wonders what she's talking about. He asks if she doesn't think what he did was weird, to which she answers that by no means. She knows he only did it to help her. She knows it's a little embarrassing of her to suddenly ask him to form a group. But he says he'll have to refuse. Based on what he's seen before, he doesn't really think she should get involved with such a dangerous job. She should give up this line of work and find something more stable. She smiles while she says it's okay, it's a shame, but she's used to being rejected, so don't worry about it. She'll keep picking herbs until she can find someone to form a group. Walker screams that she waits and questions how, even after what she's been through, she still plans to continue, to what Alina replies that, of course, it's her dream to be an adventurer and protect everyone. While Walker believes that this is a strong determination. He knows very little about this world and wonders if he should try to form a group as an experiment. It's not like his being dragged by her rhythm right now. What he needs most in this world is someone he can trust. No matter whether she's weak or not, she looks like someone he could trust, and tells her that, in fact, he was also looking to join a group. If she's willing, they might try to join. Since it's just a test, they'll share the rewards equally, plus he has to teach her to fight properly. When you hear that, Alina screams in shock. Walker asks what's wrong, are the terms not good enough, or maybe she got hurt earlier. But Alina says she's so used to being alone that she doesn't know how to answer. She's really happy. She thought this time would be bad too, so she honestly surprised her, then thanks him, but Walker says it's okay. Walker then narrates that, based on what he can remember from his previous life, that feeling of hitting rock bottom is very familiar. So Alina asks if he would like to go out and eat together to celebrate. She wants to learn from him. Later at the restaurant, she tells him that please choose whatever you want. It's your thanks for helping her. Walker feels bad about seeing that he just made a lot of money, but it's her way of showing gratitude, so he should just accept it. Alina announces that she had almost forgotten, sorry for the late presentation. Her name is Alina, she's still a 6th grader, while Walker says he recently registered. Alina is shocked because she asks if he just became an adventurer. She thought he was a veteran. He even beat that electric beer. So he explains that he grew up in a remote place in the mountains, as a uniformed guy who wandered into town, is self-taught when it comes to fighting, so you don't have much to teach her. To which Alina replies that if that is the case, she can help. She can help you get used to life in the city, and she will also learn to fight by watching him. Walker answers that this would be a great help, while she comments that he even used magic earlier. Being so good at martial arts and magic is incredible. Walker agrees that magic is really useful, so he tells us that it's actually because of the virus, but if he talks about it too much, it'll compromise his identity. He's just gonna come up with an excuse and then use it to get information about magic, and right now a waitress shows up and apologizes for waiting. She brought in the specialities of the day, while Alina comments that it sounds amazing, and Walker says it's been so long since she ate a meal like this, it's time to eat, but then, surprisingly, questions how he should eat with his helmet on. Walker tells me he has completely forgotten, while Alina tells him he can't help himself if he's still wearing that. He comments that she has a very ugly scar, and that's also why her voice is like that, to what she says that's why, and apologizes for it. Alina asks the waitress if it's okay to take the food for the trip, and he apologizes, saying he should have told her from the start, but Alina says that it's okay. Serious injuries are not uncommon in this kind of work. Then Alina mentions that actually a hobgoblin attacked her village once, and many people died because of it. The village has many elderly people, so she wants to become a strong adventurer. In order to protect everyone, she will never forgive those goblins for what they did to her house. Walker claims she probably never thought she'd end up talking face to face with a hobgoblin. It's starting to hurt a little, fool her like that, if he's gonna get involved with humans. Then he needs to find a human body as soon as possible, but until then, he needs to make sure that she never finds out he's a goblin. Alina thanks him for forming a group with a stranger like her. She's lucky to have met someone like him. He says he didn't do much, even though he looked like that, and then thanks her. To what she replies, Grandma always taught him not to judge a book by its cover, while Walker thinks that this girl is innocent and kind, but also naive. The moment he looks away from her, she'll get into trouble, he'll need to be alert, so Alina gives him a bag and says that's to take, and that he should taste slowly at the inn. Then Walker tells Alina that if she wants to, she can escort her back to the place where she's staying if those guys from before come back, she's in danger, and then she apologizes for all of this. Alina says it's okay and mentions that he may not believe her when she tells her that, but she was in the woods the other day, and this wolf helped her get back into town. What he did before seemed similar to that time, to what Walker asks if a monster would actually do something like that. And she says it really happened. They even had a conversation. Alina then claims that maybe she has the talent to be a monster tamer, and he comments that, moving on, tomorrow will be the first time you'll work together, and she should rest long and eat long before that. Walker is worried, since it's the first time for both of us, but he believes their teamwork can only improve over time. He realizes it's been a while since has worked with someone like that, and it's starting to get him excited. The next day, Alina's standing outside Walker's inn and calling for him, which Walker panics about. What the hell is Alina? Alina asks if this is where he's staying, while he's in the window, and asks himself it wasn't for them to meet in the guild, it's not yet an hour, it's a serious dedication. Walker then listens Alina asking someone, if they're the innkeeper, if someone named Walker Parazit is staying here, to which the person agrees and claims he's in the front room on the second floor. Walker questions, these people don't understand privacy, and he says what the hell, he needs to hurry up and get dressed. Then he leaves his room and greets Alina as she asks how she knew he was here, while Alina smiles and greets Walker with a good day as she approaches him. She mentions that she asked around if anyone had seen a big guy wearing a black cape and a bird mask. Walker tells us that he knew, that body stands out too much, it's only a matter of time before he's discovered, so he needs to hurry and find a replacement body, besides feeling guilty about all this. So he asks Alina what's going on, and she asks if he's changed his mind about their group. Walker responds that's not it, he's new in town, so that's gonna help him a lot, and today's adventure is a group. We're gonna leave right away, which makes Alina happy. Now on the market, Walker tells us that he hasn't had time to go sightseeing so far, there's a lot of things has never seen before, and at that moment, a lady beckons them and yells at him with her mask. She asks if he's from out of town and tells him to try a kaglam juice, it's a local specialty, she'll even give him a discount, it only costs $10. Walker thinks has already got some around, but he'll definitely stay with them, but Alina interrupts him and asks to wait a moment, please. 10 silver is twice the market price. When you hear this, you correct that you meant 2 for 10 silvas. Walker says he understands, in this case, he'll take 2. Then Alina tells Walker that he shouldn't trust people blindly, because it's a common tactic in the market to try to sell something for more than it's worth. While Walker thinks, actually, look who's talking, but he can't really say that to her. So he tells her that she's certainly experienced in these things, which makes Alina smile and say she couldn't make money from the start like he did. There were times when she had to eat weeds and herbs. She needs to save enough to finish the mission, and Walker comments that if she's so poor, she shouldn't have bought his lunch, but Alina answers that everything is fine, she was saving for a special occasion like that. Walker wonders how sweet this girl can be. And now he wants to finish some missions so she can eat some real good food. Then he tells her we're gonna hurry up and catch a mission on the guild, and after they get paid, they're gonna go back to the market, and she agrees. Alina then claims that, anyway, she is concerned that he will end up being deceived again, just as before. She's gonna keep an eye on him so that it doesn't happen again, and Walker thanks her, narrating that it's supposed to make them even. So in the guild, the receptionist asks Alina if she's having fun with this person, to what she smiles and agrees. Alina explains that his appearance is a little strange, but inside he's really a nice guy, and then asks if she did see how much he helped her. Meanwhile, Walker thinks she's clearly suspicious of him, he can feel their looks, probably because of yesterday. Walker then asks the receptionist if there's any mission that 2 newbies like them could handle, and she replies that if it's him, he could probably do any of the rank's missions, since she thinks he actually faced a Lek bear alone. Walker answers that they are looking for something that also helps Alina training, to what the receptionist mentions she understands, and asks how about rabbits with horns. The horns of horned rabbits can be used as ornaments, so there is plenty to collect, and their solitary nature is strange when considering their size. However, it also means that they are perfect targets for novices. Alina says excitedly that they'll do the best they can, so Walker claims that in this case they'll take this one, and assures the receptionist that he'll support it, so there's no need to worry. The receptionist thinks that's what worries her the most, and tells Alina to be very careful, and Alina says yes. Walker tells us that he hopes she's not thinking he's like those guys from before, but since his first impression was bad, it can't be helped, but maybe if they can complete these missions properly, he'll gain a little confidence. Later in the forest, Alina claims they should live around here, but can't see them anywhere. Walker comments that they have been searching for an hour and asks if these rabbits are rare, to which Alina replies no, since they are usually not difficult to find, but perhaps some goblins have been there recently, after all, they are enemies by nature. By hearing that, Walker realizes there's no way, it's his fault. He decides he won't let their first mission end in failure. Walker then tells Alina that it looks like he's gonna need to use magic to find them, which Alina answers confused that she understood and asks if there's a way to find them with magic. After that, Walker tells us that the symptoms he got from that merchant should be helpful, while activates the presence concealment and presence detection, removes all traces of being a goblin, and reveals everything around it. Walker realizes there's something inside that log and warns Alina there's something inside that fallen tree, so let's go and check it out. Alina is impressed with Walker, saying he's really a genius. He can even use advanced magic as a spatial perception. Walker agrees and says she grew up in the mountains, so I didn't know, to what she replies that before they continue, there's something she wanted to ask him. She claims she just wanted him not to use any magic with her. She knows it sounds weird coming from her when she's so weak, but she'd like to get stronger through her own effort. Walker says, of course, that would be best, after all, he won't always be around. Then he tells that when he was an animal, he liked to use his power as much as he could, but there's a lot about the virus that he still doesn't fully understand. Once he infects someone, he has no idea how to undo it. Even if it's to make her stronger, he shouldn't use it on Alina, so he tells her that, anyway, let's take a look before she runs away. As they approach the trunk, he mentions that they will cover both sides of the trunk, so she must be careful on his side. He looks inside the trunk and claims that horned rabbits have strong charge attacks. It's not a good idea to look inside so suddenly, and at this instant, he gets attacked, and your helmet goes down. Alina asks if he's okay, and he answers that it's all thanks to his mask and asks about the rabbit. By noticing that he's running away, Alina says it's okay, that heavy horn makes them slower than normal rabbits, so they decide to chase him together. Walker tells me he's so useless. Alina may be weak, but she's far more competent than this useless inmate. Then they realize they're diving into a hole, which Alina asks him to wait a second and adds that these are tunnels of stone moles. Walker questions about the stone moles, and she explains that they are medium-sized monsters that are stronger than horned rabbits. Stone holes eat soil, which then solidifies around them like a stone armor. She still says it's a special kind of rock, one that can't be easily broken, to which he replies he understood, he will deal with the stone holes then. After that, he asks her while doing it if she thinks she can catch that horned rabbit. Alina answers that she can leave it to her, she can keep him busy at least, but he can really handle so many alone, and he explains that it's okay, is quite confident in his forces. In addition, it can use magic at the same time as well, while jumping, impulse, danger detection, kinetic vision, great eater and anesthetic secretions are discovered. Cool, the horned rabbit was also infected, so he won't have to worry, even if something happens to Alina. Alina probably wouldn't like it, but considering how weak she is, Alina could end up getting hurt badly. It would be better to weaken him and let Alina gain a little confidence. Walker then screams, "They're coming, deal with the horned rabbit," and she says they'll make it. While he fights with the stone mole, he believes he can be strong, but he doesn't even come close to an orc. He can handle it, even just brute force. Later, he says cool, at that rate it'll be over soon. Alina's monster is small, but she may still have a lot of work to do. If she's struggling, it will trigger some symptoms. And then he sees her fighting the rabbit with horns. He wonders what that is. She's not hesitating, they're equally paired, so like those goblins of old. It could be because of how focused she is on her opponent, and he believes that now he understands. What a direct girl. She lacks space consciousness, which is why she's so vulnerable to enemy groups. So far she's been alone, so maybe she didn't realize it, but with a little support to let her fight one by one. This girl could definitely show her true potential, and then she beats the rabbit and, excitedly, Walker says she did it. Walker answers that he saw it, it was a great fight, and she comments that this is the first time she has, and asks if he used any magic on her, and he answers that, honestly, he did nothing. She defeated the rabbit with her own strength. He thinks she might have a real talent for it. Alina is shocked to hear that, while he mentions that, if she is not mistaken, she would say she has the qualities to be a great adventurer, but before he finishes saying that, he notices that she is crying, and cries that she is crying again. Alina says this is the first time anyone has told you that, and promises you will do your best not to disappoint him. So, in the guild, the receptionist puts 2 bags of gold on the table and says here's the reward for the horned subjugation of the rabbit, a great achievement for a 6th grade. Alina is shocked to see the amount of gold she receives and asks what she should do, mentioning that she has never had so much money before. Walker says he's the one who killed. Be proud of it, and spend it as you please. He then reminds her of a purse she's wanted for some time and asks if it's okay for her to go by. Walker answers, of course, and asks if she goes to the market, which she says is very special. The market is full of fakes, so to be sure, she's gonna buy it at a respect store. She knows there's a great place. She announces her name is Valkyrie Firm, which makes Walker nervous, because he remembers it's that killer's shop. Alina claims that the attendants are nice, and they even offer guarantees, so there is no cause for concern when buying, to which Walker answers that there is no reason to worry. He tells us it's not like Hez after his life or anything, on the contrary, has been very helpful, everything's gonna be fine. Later in the store, Walker thinks she's a lot bigger than the other stores, looks like business is pretty good. As they entered the store, Roy smiling asks Walker, "Is that you? You came to visit our store, and you mention it's great to see him shopping here right now, while Alina thinks is famous." Walker claims he didn't expect to run into him. While Alina asks if Walker knows the owner, which he agrees with, Roy then asks Walker who this young lady is, to which Alina replies that she is a member of Walker's group. Her name is Alina. Then Walker comments that Roy is busy with his work, so let's hurry up and get what they came for. But Roy comments that no, serving his savior is much more important, and asks him what he came to buy. Walker answers that it's okay, because to be honest, he doesn't want to be indebted to this guy. Roy says he understands, but asks about Alina then, to what she mentions that she's here to buy a purse. Roy says, in this case, he'll give her the scholarship she wants, has in debt to Walker for saving her life, 1 or 2 scholarships are nothing near that. He then invites them in. As you show them the way. He explains that the products they sell there are a little more expensive because of their fair trade motto, but he can guarantee their quality. They have built a good reputation with artisans, so they send their best products directly to them. They see it a lot these days, and mention that having illegal slaves creates forgeries, then selling them as if they were real. They really don't tolerate that kind of thing. Walker recounts that he had imagined a high-standard establishment, but it looks more like a supermarket, seems like a good place to shop. Roy then asks Alina, now talking, was that the bag she wanted, this containment bag? She responds with enthusiasm that she does. The bag that never rips, no matter how much you put inside it. She has a spell that allows 5 times the capacity of a normal bag. Roy comments that this is a necessity for adventurers, so please take it with her, while Alina asks if everything is really okay, and he answers that of course. He then claims he could get 1 for Walker, 2 if he wants it, but Walker says has fine. Roy explains that he understands that he doesn't want to feel indebted to him. However, Hez doing it out of gratitude for saving his life, so please don't hesitate. But Walker mentions that Roy could have defeated those wolves at the time, even without helping. He thanks you for giving Alina the scholarship, but she doesn't really need it, and taking Alina away. She asks if it went well, while he waves to Roy and says he'll see him later. Roy beckons him and says they look forward to their next visit. Seeing them leave, Roy says laughing that the wolves were a trap, to see how well the mercenaries could do. Looks like he already knew. The lady next to Roy says that the tracking magic placed in the girl's purse is operational, so he responds that great. The girl also seems smart and kind. She seems to be from the inside, but she's a lady of soft manners and gentle aura. She'll give you a good price on the black market. Meanwhile, while Walker and Alina walk, he comments that she seems happy. Alina says yes, now that she has one of these, she finally feels like a real adventurer. But she had no idea that he knew someone as famous as she thought, as really amazing. Walker then suddenly looks behind them, and Alina asks if something is wrong. Walker mentions he had the feeling they were being watched. It must have been his imagination, but internally he knows it wasn't. He tells us that the danger detection was triggered, and now that you think about it, how did he know your name? Seeing him sweating nervously, Alina asks if Hez okay, to which he apologizes, and mentions that he's just a little tired. Alina then tells him that he doesn't need to escort her to the inn, she's right on the corner, so she can go from here alone, but Walker says no, he'll walk her to the entrance. He supposes Hez a friend of Roy's, his target is him, he needs to escort Alina back safely and then get away from her. Alina stands in front of your house and thanks Walker, and he says it's okay. She will also go to his inn at the same time tomorrow, but he doesn't have to force himself if he's tired, so he answers that a night's rest is enough and he'll be fine, even more. Alina waves to him saying goodbye and says that until tomorrow. Walker recounts that he had rather confused thoughts because of his previous life, but spending each day like this with Alina may not be so bad. So, he needs to make sure she's not in danger. So it's time to check out those Valkyrie firm guys and make sure they're not planning anything. As Walker moves away, Alina says the more she learns about him, the more she cares whether or not she is qualified to be in a group with him. Although she never changed her mind about something she decided, there's still a lot she doesn't know. So she thinks to herself that this is not the time to get down, at least she needs to train in order to contribute. The next day, Walker says he's so tired that he stayed up all night watching him, but all Roy's henchmen did was take care of the place. But Alina's not here yet. It's way past the time they were supposed to meet, so he thinks she must have overslept, and he needs to go to her inn and make sure she's okay. Then, in the guild, Walker asks the receptionist if Alina passed the guild today. She says she didn't see her, which Walker thinks is weird, because she wasn't at the inn either. So he listens Gajiru laughing and saying has made some money today, and that he'll spend it all. But then, Gajiru sees him and gets scared, while Walker thinks has the guy last time. Gajiru and his friends get nervous and hurry out of the guild. Walker sees them leaving and tells them that they fled when they realized their presence. They were harassing Alina before. He has a bad feeling about it. He can sense traces of them with presence detection. If they get too far away, then they'll blend in with the crowd and hell lose them. But they must have entered this alley. Gajiru then notes that Walker is following them and then attacks him. But Walker blocks the blow and tells that this guy is really trying to kill him right now. It's not the same kind of bloodlust as when they fought in the guild, and then it activates electrocution. Walker tells Gajiru it looks like he was trying to take him by surprise and kill him. Unfortunately for him, has already done something to their bodies, so answer your questions honestly, or hell suffer even more while questioning where Alina is. Gajiru answers that who knows, since it's none of their business. Walker electrocutes him again, to what Gajiru mentions he understood, and reveals that they sold it to some enslavers. They had no choice. If they hadn't fulfilled their quota, they would have been killed. Walker asks where the enslavers are, to what Gajiru answers that he can't say anything else, because they will really kill him if he does. But Walker releases a murderous aura and threatens Gajiru that if he doesn't want to die right there, he will speak, and then he hits near his face. Gajiru, frightened, reveals that they are in an abandoned fortress north of there. That is where they keep all the slaves, while their friends confirm that it is not a lie, it is the truth. Walker asks if he needs to go north of there, and then his shoe explodes, while he runs at high speed. The guys are shocked to see that, while Gajiru comments that Walker is a real monster. Then the slave dealer asks if these are the slaves they brought in this time, while Alina narrates that she heard rumors about the slave dealers but can't believe she was kidnapped by them. She disappeared without a word to Walker, hopes is not worried, and then adds that, of course, Walker could find a new group in no time. It seems that, including her, there are 6 who were kidnapped. They even took a little girl. At that moment, the leader covers his mouth and comments that he thought it would fit, while Alina thinks that right now she needs to find a way out of there. The leader then asks one of the men why there are so few of them this time, to which he replies nervously that lately they had some problems with some plagues, are those guys from the Valkyrie firm, while watching the scene from behind the bushes. The girl tells Roy that 6 people have been accounted for, they must be the missing girls. When he hears that, he smiles and says he's happy to see that they're still alive. Those guys just caught whoever they could catch. I'm glad they were so greedy. Because of that, they managed to track them using the detection magic they put in that girl's purse. Then he says that it looks like there's about 20 of them, they still don't realize their presence. He'll handle it on his own, which she asks if he's sure he doesn't need help, and he agrees. He mentions, with a smile, that his real job is that of a murderer, anyway. He'll get rid of them without a trace, like they've never been here. And she talks about it, she understands, but it's been a long day for them, so she thought he must have been tired. He says there's no time for that. If those arms dealers get their hands on them, those girls will be sold to whoever knows where, and exploited for the rest of their lives. In business, there should always be balanced exchange. He does not like transactions where a party is at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, the little girl is crying, and a slave dealer tells her to shut up, so annoying, while Alina begs him to stop. Alina questions how he can do something so horrible with such a small child, and the guy slaps Alina while he curses her. Another slave dealer tells him to stop damaging the product, but the leader says it's not easy to sell someone with that kind of personality. The leader then points his sword at Alina and announces to everyone that this is what happens to those who behave badly. Make sure they see well. As Roy watches, he says he imagined her as a shyer girl, but she's pretty good. It's time to start. From up here he can get it out without being noticed. But right now, he realizes something's wrong, for something is coming quickly from the forest. Based on that feeling, it's a very powerful monster. It'll be a problem if he crosses their path. And in that instant, Walker appears flying from the sky. Slave dealers are shocked while wondering what the hell that is. That guy fell from the sky. Alina realizes she's Walker and is relieved. Walker grabs the leader's face and wonders what's wrong with this guy. What's this crazy force? But the leader realizes that Walker's back is completely exposed and stabs him, while Alina screams her worried name. But for the shock of the leader, Walker is not affected by the stab wound to his back. He questions how that's possible, because that should have been lethal, and then he begs Walker not to kill him. Walker counts the slave dealers and notes that there are 20. He tells them he's going to kill every one of them, and one of them asks what's going on with those members, and Walker mentions that they can't beat him, even if they all come together. One of them tries to attack Walker while he claims they shouldn't mess with them, and then asks what he can do alone. But before I could do anything, Walker cuts off your hands, which shocks the guy. The other slave dealers notice that and say that this guy is not human, that they're leaving there, and then they start running, but then Walker stalks them and attacks them. Meanwhile, Roy. It tells us that Walker thought he was a good-hearted guy who knew he had this side. He was curious, so he looked into his past, but he couldn't find anything. As dark as it is, information always appears, but in this case, it's almost as if he just came out of that forest. One of the boys asks what happened. His body is suddenly so numb. Just in time, Alina begs Walker that it's enough, when he hears that he comes back to himself and realizes has gone too far. Walker claims that his apologies, he will release her soon, and Alina tells the others that it's okay, that he came to help. He frees them all, but one of the girls calls him a monster and runs away. Then he removes Alina's handcuffs while he says he's sorry. She hugs him and says she's sorry that he has to do something so terrible, even though he's a kind person. He asks if she is not afraid of him, to which she replies that, after seeing him fight so frantically for her, how could she be afraid of him? Meanwhile, one of the slave dealers manages to escape, and he asks what the hell that monster was, and he mentions he needs to hurry to report it to the guys at the base. But while he's on the run, Roy attacks him. He comments that when he leaves without cleaning the bodies and revealing himself like this, as he thought, Walker is not a murderer by profession. He then tells his partner to take care of the girls who escaped and to be quiet about all this, and she replies that she understood. Then Roy tells that Walker he had realized he was a hobgoblin underneath. However, after seeing this, there's no way he could think that way again. He used some kind of magic in the minds of his opponents, and he might even transform his body somehow. It's possible he was also infected by it. Still, for now, he doesn't seem like the kind of person who actively pursues others. He doesn't know what he wants, but if his interests align, he's sure they can have a positive relationship from now on. Roy then claims that, just to be sure it will be good to earn some of his gratitude, he will start cleaning up these ruins. Looking at the mess, the mess he left these guys in is gonna take some time. In the guild, a man asks if they have heard that, apparently, Gajiru and his group of great power have been eliminated. They were found dead in an alley. Many people resented them. Then he claims that supposedly the one who killed them was that big, dark man who's been hanging around Alina. And at that moment Walker shows up. He wonders if they died while he tells them he threatened them, but left them all alive. But still, it's true that he killed a lot of people. Even if they were villains, honestly, he has no idea why he did something like that. You seem to have more eyes on him than usual. The people he released probably told everyone how much of a monster he is. Even if you saved their lives, he wouldn't blame you for acting like that after what you saw. But suddenly, the receptionist smiles and calls for him, as shocked to say hello, and she questions if the rumors are really true about him having alone expelled a group of drug dealers and freed those young girls. Walker answers that it is true that he did this, but to claim that he expelled them, while the receptionist calls him incredible. She adds that this case proved to be too complicated for the adventurers to handle, so they are relieved to hear it. Walker doesn't understand. Those girls must have seen his arms while he was turned, not to mention the hideous fight itself. He thought the rumors would be more about how monstrous he is, but it seems that all the compromising parts of the story have been omitted. And right now, Alina shows up and says, "That's right, Walker is super awesome," and then says hello to him. Walker asks if it's okay for her to be, but she interrupts him and explains that, of course, thanks to him, she didn't suffer serious injuries, and it's full of energy, so let's do our best today too. Walker questions if she still wants to be on a team with him, and she announces that it looks like she's gonna have to tell you that one more time. He fought for all of us, there's no way she'd ever hate him. He believes that this girl really has some mental strength, she must have been scared, while Alina says that on second thought, it seems that his voice has improved, and he answers that it is true. Some of his wounds have healed. Then she mentions she's happy, maybe one day they'll be able to talk without needing his helmet. And he thinks he imagines that all the modifications has made with body manipulation are worth it, so he agrees with her. Alina says we're going back to the subject and get a new request, and ask the receptionist if she has anything good. She asks about this one. It's a sorting request and to suppress some goblins. They have not yet done any harm, but this is done regularly as a preventive measure. Walker is shocked to comment on goblins, and Alina says we're going to get this one, they need to stop them from doing more damage, as they did to her village. For her, goblins are unforgivable. Walker claims there hasn't been any damage yet, so it's not like all goblins are bad, and the receptionist says there may be no trouble now, but there's always a chance that they'll run out of food, or one of them will evolve into a hobgoblin and take them here. Walker seems sad, so Alina asks what's wrong, and he says he's sorry, one of the wounds he's had from the enslavers has opened up again. It's going to be hard to make any requests today. Alina replies that, of course, let her help you get back to his room, but he mentions that it's okay, it'll be easier for him to get there alone. She shouldn't pick up difficult orders today, just go somewhere and collect instead. When he leaves, Alina wonders if he's okay, but Walker tells us that this is a problem. The time they spent together may have been short, but they were still his companions, as he thought. He can't just pretend he didn't hear that request. But it would be super weird for an adventurer to defend a monster. He might end up being exposed to it, and he wonders how to handle it. But at that moment, he bumps into Roy, who says they meet quite often. He heard some rumors about him, heard that he defeated a gang of slavers and freed the girls they kidnapped. But when Walker tries to escape, Roy tells him to wait a moment, because he planned to return it to him the next time they meet. He gives you a pin, while asking if this is his partner's hairpin, and mentions that you found him in an abandoned fort up north, so I wanted to warn you. Walker asks if he was there, and Roy answers that he was just passing by. Roy adds that if he hadn't, he could have gotten into a lot of trouble. There were bodies all over the place, and he didn't even ask the girls to keep what they saw secret. Then Roy says don't worry, and mentions he hasn't heard any bad rumors, you hear. He tells Walker that the consequences have already been resolved. It seems he owes him a favor this time. Walker asks if he's saying that even after seeing everything that happened, he's still willing to help him. Roy replies that, of course, being useful to someone with your talents is an honor to him, while Walker tells him that he doesn't want to be in debt to a suspicious guy like that. But this is not the time to worry about it. So he tells Roy that in this case, there's something else he needs your help with. Then one of the goblins shouts that Hobgoblin Sama is back, which makes them all very excited. They hug him while he claims it's been a while, and they celebrate for the fact that he hasn't forgotten them. Roy claims he's really a man of many talents. He had no idea that goblins were capable of speaking, while goblins are shocked to see a human. Roy questions, then what he's asking is that he protect the goblins here from being subdued, and Walker answers that. He seems to know a lot about him already, so hell be honest, actually, has a hobgoblin. But Roy mentions has heard about it from the beginning. Walker thinks if he already knew he was a goblin and is willing to cooperate, maybe he can be trusted to treat them well. So Roy asks why not try to move the group into an area that has already gone through a subjugation. Walker, in Goblin, explains to Roy that they don't want to leave their home. Then Walker asks more. Goblin subjugations are an annual event, aren't they? And he says they can find similar problems if they move them, so he asks there is no other way. Roy says that although he's happy to help, he's not exactly running a charity either. If they were humans, he would offer protection on the condition that they worked under his trading firm, but he cannot allow goblins to do so. Walker asks if he has works that are not known publicly, murders and such, to which Roy answers that, exactly as he imagined, he noted, however, this line of work cannot be entrusted to a weak goblin. Walker thinks for a moment and asks, and if they were stronger. Then he used his ability, and the goblins became stronger creatures. Roy is shocked to see that, while Walker explains that everyone here has unique magic cast upon them. Some are strong enough to break stones, others are more skilled in stealth operations. There is also an expert in medicinal plants, and a great cook who could work in a kitchen as well. If he orders, they will do anything he says. Roy says Walker's really like that, but Walker interrupts him and asks, so how about it? Roy says that with monsters as employees, it's like he says, you can trust them with things you can't leave to humans. Walker says it looks good, and Roy says it'll be his first time hiring monsters as employees, so there'll be a trial period before, but for now, they'll be under your protection. Walker says he owes you for it, but please don't make them do anything dangerous, so Roy answers that there's a multitude of jobs available that he doesn't need to be seen doing, so there's no reason to worry. Then Roy says that even if they can stop the first subjugation, the moment they discover there are stronger goblins, they will send even stronger adventurers to face them, while Walker says that if possible, he wants them to avoid fighting adventurers. Roy then mentions that Alina hates goblins since they attacked her village, so it may be prudent for him to find a new body before she finds out, to what Walker agrees. Roy says that, just as I thought, it's a form of possession magic, just like when he fought those gray wolves. He knew the moment he saw it, the way he fought without caring about his body. He had a sense of it, but this is the first time he's really seen it. So Roy tells the goblins to get ready for training and get the things they need. Walker believes there was no one else he could trust, but questions whether he can trust him. Later, in the guild, Alina asks Walker if he's sure he's all right now, to which he agrees nervously and apologizes for what happened yesterday. But then Alina proudly tells him that, in fact, yesterday she went out and hunted a horned rabbit by herself. Walker is impressed to hear this, while Alina claims she used their favorite food as bait and lured one out of hiding. It's thanks to him that she thought of it, because she can better show her skills in a scenario. It's just an F rating, but Walker answers no, she's really grown up. Then Alina says that there was something she wanted to discuss with him, and he asks what it is. Alina happily asks if he would like to try challenging a dungeon with her. Later, Walker says he had no idea that such a busy place existed in the middle of the forest, and Alina replies that this market is like a center for people who enter the dungeon. It really gets her excited. Walker comments that the atmosphere here is quite different than he imagined, while Alina asks how it is. Walker says dungeons are places where monsters appear, not dangerous, but no one here seems to be aware of danger, even if they are preparing for battle. To what Alina mentions that many of them are probably just excited to test their limits like them. In addition, at least on the upper floors, she heard that monsters are not much harder than those that would be outside. Then Alina notes some adventures and says, "Look at this. Those people have third-degree labels. I bet they can get to the intermediate layers and succeed." Walker reports that now that he thinks about it, he received a label when it was registered as well, but still has the 6th degree. Alina then explains that the internal functioning of the dungeons is still unknown to this day. While the monsters they generate are a threat, they are also a source of valuable raw materials, weapons and armor, so the country treats them as an important resource. Because of this, she heard that dungeons always have someone powerful patrolling inside as a preventative measure to prevent any monster from escaping and damaging the surroundings. Walker thinks excitedly that if the monsters inside the dungeon are different from those outside, that means he can learn a lot of new symptoms. Walker believes that as someone who is trying to keep his head down and live a normal life, there is no real reason for him to acquire new abilities. But it's okay to get stronger. Then Alina announces that, with just a few more steps they will have arrived, we will put this show on the road. But Walker asks about the food. He says they need a flashlight and a nap too, and asks if she didn't say they needed to buy them in the tents. And Alina says he's right. She got a little carried away, since this is the first time she's been in. For which he wonders, will she be all right? That Horned Rabbit's money is coming in handy, while Walker realizes that if he wants to protect Alina, he's gonna need these new symptoms after all. Later, Walker says, so this is the entrance to the dungeon. He comments that it looked just like a lot of ruins, while Alina says there are various types of dungeons, but this is referred to as a type of underground ruins. Just then, she steps on a goo, while Walker asks what's wrong and tells her to let him help, but she answers that it's okay. She stabs the goo. While you claim they're easy to win, all you have to do is crush the core. Alina adds that, usually, the goo somes also have a little poison inside them. So, although it's nothing serious, it's prudent to rub this weed's sap into the wound to balance the poison, and Walker says it looks like she's used to that sort of thing. Alina says no way, she just memorized everything in the dungeon guide. She didn't want to be a burden to him once they got into the dungeon. Walker believes Trick Book. This girl is really a hard worker. She can be a little distracted sometimes, but as long as he's watching her, everything will be fine. After a while, Alina announces that there are many slimes in the house. His cape is getting all sticky, and he answers that maybe that's how the first 2 floors are. So Walker tells us that even if they're just slimes, has won a series of new symptoms, paralysis by poison and acid. It seems that slimes have different abilities depending on their color. Alina claims they came to this dungeon, so at least she wanted to fight something she wouldn't normally find outside, but before she finishes her sentence, she freezes and Walker asks what's wrong. Alina apologizes and says that her body scared her a little, that's all. Based on her appearance, she doesn't look like an adventurer, so she must be someone who was buried a long time ago. She apologizes for being scared and telling her body she hopes is resting in peace. But right now he wakes up and tries to attack her. Alina calls Walker, and he questions what it is this time. Then he realizes what's happening and defeats the body. He asks what just happened. The body began to move, while Alina says it must be a skeleton. She then realizes that she is repairing herself, is a monster that is fed by mana. Until they break the core inside her head, it will continue to regenerate repeatedly. Then Walker says he understands, so he just needs to destroy his head, so that should be simple, but he decides to infect him first, because has sure hell gets some good symptoms. Walker says it didn't work. Is that thing virus resistant, or is it that he can't infect something that isn't alive? While holding the head of the skeleton, he decides that if he can't get any symptoms of it, he'll simply destroy it. Walker breaks the skeleton's head, and a small creature comes out, which surprises him as he asks what the hell that is. Alina stabs him and says it must be his weak spot. Then Alina explains that magical beings like skeletons and slimes have something called a core, which stores mana, being its source of energy. According to the guide, they can't keep their shape if the core is destroyed, which he understands. Magic engine durability, cutting resistance, pain blocker, restlessness, magical vulnerability, etc. have now been discovered. Walker thinks maybe, to learn any symptoms, he'll need to infect the core first. Then Walker apologizes to Alina for throwing it at her, and thanks for her handling it so quickly, but Alina replies that none of this, all she did was stab the core. He did most of the work. It's amazing how he managed to counter that attack so easily even in this enclosed space. She really admires him for inspiration. Walker realizes has just shown a pretty cool side of him, and yet this girl is pure. She's positively radiant, but then he notices that she's really glowing and asks why her body is glowing. Seeing this, Alina is shocked. Alina says she thinks her sister's up, but Walker apologizes when he hears that because he's not sure what she means. Alina then explains that, to simplify, mana is a form of vital energy found within monsters and people. When a creature dies, its mana is transferred to the nearest living being, and once the body accumulates enough mana, it will begin to shine and its total capacity will increase. Alina says she got a little stronger, but Walker wonders if it's like a higher level, while she comments that she's really sorry for taking all this, but he says it's okay, and says congratulations. He thinks has never shown like this before, which means this hobgoblin should be pretty strong by now. Since the mana is stored in the body, this is not relevant to someone like him, who exchanges bodies. It is a little disappointing, but instead he has symptoms, which is more than enough. But there's still a lot you can do to help her. It'll be a good thing if she can protect herself better. Suddenly, Alina realizes a monster and tells him that the monster in front is called Lizard Man. They're not very smart, but they're agile and have sharp claws. She thinks they're on the same level as a skeleton. Walker answers that he sees, so just wait here while he defeats him, but she asks if she can fight him. Walker questions whether alone, and Alina answers yes, but if her plan doesn't work, please help her. Walker asks what her plan is, and Alina explains that she's going to use this cold ball she bought. It's not strong enough to freeze something solid, but it's good enough to lower the temperature. She explains that lizard men are lizards, and then she throws them towards the lizard. After that, Alina announces that if the temperature around them decreases, their movement will also be affected, so he will not be able to use his high agility. Besides, this time they'll be the ambushers when she attacks the monster. Walker asks if it worked, while Alina cuts off the monster's head. Walker then enters the room, while Alina, smiling, claims that she did. Her battle plan with the lizard man totally worked, so he asks if she had more than one plan, and she confirms it. She says that when that skeleton appeared, she was so surprised that she couldn't do anything, but thought of a plan for every monster she could find on the first 5 floors of the ruins. She respects him, so she refuses to let herself be less, but Walker thinks Hes actually starting to think that Hes the one dragging her down. Alina says they did. As soon as the killer ant queen was defeated, the rest of them dispersed, thanking him for keeping the army ants occupied, and he replies that's good. Alina realizes that the soldier ants are all around him and asks if Hes okay, to which he answers yes, and mentions that there was more than expected, but there are no injuries anyway. Alina explains that her chin is incredibly strong, so pulling them out isn't easy. It's a lot easier if he serves the jaw muscles, while she punctures them to help him, and when he says thank you, he repays. She says that by no means he can count on her, but Walker thinks that this is totally different from how he had managed to do it. It was supposed to be more like this, as he imagines Alina asking for help, and he replies that maybe it was a little too soon for her to get into a dungeon, so he'll take care of it from now on. Walker believes that, at this rate, it will end up looking like this, while he imagines Alina saying that she was invited to a strong group, so he will go out with them, and thanks for all the help during this short time. And all this because he has become complacent in the way of thinking. His virus skills will take care of everything. He needs to regain his lost ground. He still thinks that since Alina came in here, It seems she's become a completely new person, and then he realizes that she's glowing again. Walker asks Alina if it is possible for someone's mana to increase so easily, to which she answers she doesn't know, that it was so low for so long, then it probably went up so easily because her original mana was so low, and he wonders if it's really that. Alina then says she bets that she can defeat any of the monsters until the 5th floor now, but he replies that she should not be convinced. Alina says she even defeated a lizard man without needing tools. Even if a skeleton or a bloodbat came to her, she could still do it. But right now she notices something and calls Walker, who asks what's wrong, and she tells him to look over there. They spot a group of monsters, and he questions what the hell that is. They look totally different from all the monsters they've seen so far, which Alina explains are trolls. They are incredibly strong monsters, who should live on the 20th floor and below, but lower-level monsters roam the upper floors on rare occasions. But this is a whole group of them. There's no way they can go on. It's a shame they haven't found any treasure, but they should come back now, while Walker decides it's finally time. He believes it's a chance to restore his honor, and tells her it's okay. He can easily defeat them with magic. This shocks her, as Alina comments that she knows he's strong, but facing them all alone, but before she finishes, he answers that not exactly. All they have to do is stand up here and watch. And then Walker sends his clones to infect the trolls. Then Walker tells Alina that she'll be unconscious for a while, but it's a side effect of magic, so she shouldn't worry. One troll then tells the other he's getting fat for eating too much. And now the trolls fight each other. Walker narrates that those are next, and while the other trolls fight each other, he comments next. Meanwhile, Alina wonders what's going on while Walker announces his back, and she asks if he's okay. Walker says it's okay. About what happened to those guys, he used a magic of confusion on them. Now all they need to do is watch the battle. Alina claims this is unbelievable, as incredible. He manages to cast such a spell on a large number of targets. The idea of friendly fire never crossed his mind, while he, ashamed, tells her to stop praising. Then she comments that she thinks she's still not good enough, because all she can do now is memorize what the guide teaches, and, as expected from her mentor, she's determined to continue following her example from now on. But suddenly, a rock flies towards them, and he tells her to be careful. And as he holds her, he realizes they're falling right into the horde. Walker thinks this is bad. He has no idea how he can keep Alina safe if they fall right into all that chaos. But in that instant, a plan comes to his mind. He takes over the body of one of the trolls. While Alina claims it's no good, Walker's unconscious. One of the trolls grabs Alina while she's scared, but the troll announces it's him. Walker says he barely made it in time. Give him a second. He'll take her somewhere safe soon. Alina, crying, tells the troll to let her go. She needs to go save Walker, but he tells her to wait, it's him. Walker realizes his words aren't getting to her, so she stabs him while she talks. Take this. He lets her go by mistake, and she quickly runs into Walker's body. While you say don't worry, she's coming to save you. Walker notices he can't get to her because these guys are blocking the way. Then Alina announces that Walker is her savior. She refuses to escape alone. Walker's body sits, and he says scared that oh no, the hobgoblin is becoming self-conscious again. He has to get back inside him as he returns to that body. Alina is relieved and comments that relief, he woke up. Walker tells her not to come here, hurry up and put herself somewhere safe. But right now, one of the trolls makes a huge hole in the ground, for which Alina is about to fall. Walker's running forward as he tells us they're probably playing with him. No way he's not gonna make it in time. He believes that if she falls on one of the lower floors, she may not make it out alive. Then he narrates that he wanted to avoid doing this, but has no choice. He has to infect Alina and take control of her body. When Walker gets to the hole, he wonders if he made it in time. Right now, a new symptom called Lucky is discovered. He wonders about Lucky, and if he got it from Alina. And if it is, then he needs to hurry up and get into her body, but he realizes it's no use, nothing is happening. Walker then jumps right into the hole, questioning if she falls so far out of reach that he can't transfer to her, or if that's the case, that she already is. He then starts crying, and he thinks it's all his fault. She had to go through something so horrible, all because he wanted to show off, despite how powerful the virus might be. This was always meant to happen, considering the little knowledge he has compared to Alina. He internally apologizes to Alina and asks that she please be safe. Meanwhile, on another floor, a man looks at a monster and mentions that he spent a fortune hiring skilled team members to reach the treasures downstairs, so how? In front of a terrifying monster, he thinks the healer is useless, too, now that she's run out of mana. While the healer tells him that fighting is his job, not hers, hurry up and do something. Right now. The man pushes her to the ground and says that maybe if you use her as bait, he can escape in time. The healer asks angrily for him to wait, and what has doing, but the man tells her to shut up. He won't kill himself protecting a stranger he met through the guild. But at this moment, Walker suddenly appears and attacks the monster, which shocks the man and the healer. Then Walker leans toward the healer and looks her in the eye, while she asks frightened what kind of monster this is. She never saw anything like it. Walker claims Alina's not here, while the healer thinks he's wearing a tag, he's not kidding, as an adventurer. Walker then asks her if she saw a girl wearing a green skirt and a red band on her head. She's a little lower than she is. To what she replies scared that she didn't see her, to what Walker says she understands. He then looks at the man and tells him to make sure they get her out of here properly, while the man greets him scared. Walker adds that it's important that he takes care of her companions and then walks away from them. Then he tells that he has been searching for hours, despite using his night vision and presence detection. He calls her name and says he couldn't find any trace of Alina in the area where she fell. He adds, crying, that either she began to move alone or a monster caught her. Right now, a monster attacks him while he says he doesn't have time to play with him. It activates the magic wire and acid secretion, and easily kills the monster. After that, Walker mentions that he felt nothing during the crisis detection. The endless struggle and self-healing caused him to accumulate too much fatigue. He adds, but that doesn't mean he can stop now. Alina could still be counting on him to save her. He needs to hurry. While he walks quickly, a lady tells him to wait. He, confused, asks what this is when he realizes he can't move a muscle. An elf announces that she felt a different presence from any monster she's encountered down here before, and it looks like she came across a rather peculiar specimen. She smiles and adds no, maybe it's too soon to call him a monster. So she asks, maybe he's human, and tells him to answer. Walker stands still while he asks who's there, and says he can't move an inch. The elf claims he seems in a hurry, but that's part of her work. She couldn't just ignore something as suspicious as him and ask him exactly what he is. Walker quietly kneels, and she comments that refusing to speak will only make it harder for him. She realizes that he is still under the effects of his immobilization magic, while undoing his spell, and says that now he should be able to speak. Walker then turns to her and asks, an elf, is she exploring the lowest levels so deeply? He narrates that, despite activating all possible symptoms, he still cannot move. The way she behaves is easy to perceive that she is in a league completely different from the other magicians he has known. He adds that while he needs to find Alina as soon as possible, it would be safer to answer her questions and keep civility between them. In answering her questions and claiming to be human, the elf reveals his face and claims that lying has probably a hobgoblin. Walker mentions that if she already knew, then there was no point in asking. Besides, he could say the same. Who is she? And says has out of time here. The elf responds to calm down. She's part of the guild team, currently patrolling the dungeon. Walker starts to wonder, guild team, so she's like that lady from reception. The elf explains that its role there is to ensure that anything considered dangerous does not escape the limits of the dungeon. This dungeon exists as an important resource for the city, but it is also a potential threat in case a strong monster appears. Walker then asks her, in other words, she's here to eliminate monsters, like him. He thinks, that's bad, she looks strong. Hell move towards a nearby monster, and then the elf says they're her excuses. She believes her line of questioning was wrong, allows her to reformulate, Her question is whether has human in its essence. Walker watches her confused, while she further explains that when she discovered him, she watched her actions for a while. She saw him save those adventurers who were in trouble. She adds that typically a hobgoblin would not strive to help someone. Besides, the id card his using tells you has a guild adventurer. She says that the guild houses many individuals with various circumstances, and the fact that is a hobgoblin is of no importance. Although she is not sure of the circumstances that led him to become a hobgoblin, she cannot keep him here as an individual who wishes to live a normal and healthy life. Walker then tells him he's looking for a friend who's missing. She's an incredibly important person to him. Maybe until recently he was thinking like a monster, but he never had thoughts about attacking people. And now, when he thought about it, she was the one who changed the way he thought about things. He adds that he will start a pandemic among humans. Going back to town and finding her again, he decided to live a normal, discreet life, taking care of her. Walker announces he needs to find her as soon as possible, as begging, please release him. The elf comments that, all right, to what he answers that he is eternally grateful. She adds that, however, she cannot help you find her, because if you stop to help every adventurer who underestimated his own skill, you could never do anything. She may not be able to help him in the search, but she really expects him to find whoever he's looking for safe and sound. Then she reaches out, while Walker is thinking about the handshake. He knows you shouldn't do this to someone after you earn your trust. But still, symptoms of order, magical proficiency, fitness for spiritual magic, amplification of spells, spiritual vision, longevity, eternal youth, magical resistance, resistance to domination and resistance to interference are discovered. Walker claims that, forgive him, he has no other option, he just needs a little more power, while infecting him with his clones. He adds that, in fact, he would like to lend her body a little to speed up the progress of the search. But this does not seem feasible in the current condition in which it is found. If he was going to trip and she noticed, but well, he managed to get some pretty strong symptoms from her. So this is a victory for him. He should really hurry, while thanking her long before he leaves. Elf comments that he has one more thing, a piece of advice for him. In case it is considered too dangerous to exist within the city, it will not be merciful, while Walker just observes it. But since it's purely hypothetical, she'll be back on her patrol now. Maybe they'll meet again one day in the guild. Walker then narrates that he's safe as soon as he finds Alina. He won't even think about doing something so reckless again. He'll take his place, accept requests that match his skill level, and live under the radar. He mentions that, still, there are no signs of human life. Even when he uses magical perception, it doesn't seem to be around. The layout here is more complex than it was on the upper floors, and wandering aimlessly will take you nowhere. He says hell, try to go back to where they fell and look again from there. While he's running, he believes something strange. This should be the way he took to get here. But the monsters he killed disappeared, and he wonders if the bodies disappear after someone kills them, but it wasn't like that on the upper floors. He then realizes that it's a dead end and asks how this, the landing site, has disappeared completely, and wonders if the ground itself has some kind of repair function. If so, then finding Alina will be complicated. But right now, he notices something popping up behind him and wonders if it's a magic circle. A tiger appears before his eyes and jumps straight to attack him. After killing the monster, Walker wonders if that monster came from that magic circle there, and sees that he's still there. As soon as he steps into the circle, Walker realizes he's being pulled inside. After that, on the other side of the circle, Walker questions if he was involved, looks like he was sent far away. He narrates that there are a lot of circles there and questions whether monsters use these circles to move. He understands that Alina may have been transported by one of these circles as well, and then notes another tiger monster approaching him from behind. And after seeing more of them growl, Walker realizes that he has entered the monster cave and decides to infect them all at once to take them down. Walker then throws one of the monsters into a circle and, being killed by him, He understands that there are traps mixed with transport circles, so wandering blindly to one of them is a bad idea. He then uses his newly acquired skill, ordering one, and narrates, "It seems that the symptoms he acquired from that elf earlier are already being useful." He then apologizes to the tigers and orders each of them to stand on top of a magical circle. And then, to Walker's surprise, he realizes that all the circles were a trap because all the monsters were killed by the spears. He then sees that there is only one remaining magic circle, but as none of the monsters survived, and there is no backup for him to transfer, he nervously wonders if he should try to find another way. But then he makes a decision, and he thinks Elena risked everything to try to rescue him, so he can't turn his back to avoid hurting himself. He comments that it's been a while since she lost contact with Elena. She may still be in danger even now. Internally, he tells her to hold on and promises to take her back to the surface, and then he steps into the last circle. Then, Walker lies near an unknown place and asks if it is the underground lake, and then he realizes Elena sitting in the corner, and quickly the flame, which scares her. Walker says everything's fine now, and apologizes for taking so long to get there, while she comments she's glad he's okay. She says she knew he was coming, so she waited there for him to save her. She's so relieved to see him. But then, not knowing his face mask broke, Walker approaches Elena and tells her to go home, while Elena, shocked, comments that it is a goblin. He asks Elena what's wrong, and where are the goblins, but at that moment, he sees a reflection of himself and screams no. Walker exclaims that he's spying, while Elena sadly claims Walker was a goblin. Before she finishes the sentence, Walker asks her to wait, but tells her that even if she believed this body was his, he knew she hated goblins. He can't change what he did. He says he's sorry, now's the time to say it. He didn't mean to scare you. Let him at least take you to the surface. After that, he'll avoid you. Then Elena cries and says she's sorry. She didn't know he was a goblin. Even if her village was attacked by some, she didn't know there were beings like him. She adds that so far, she has said some terrible things about goblins and begs him to forgive her. Walker sadly asks her why he kept her identity, and yet she can forgive it, to which she answers that she is the one who made him feel bad, goblin, human, or anything like that. She could never hate him. She says she's really sorry for everything, which thrills Walker by saying he is too. Elena interrupts him and explains that she didn't mean it, and Walker says no, that it's okay, now let him explain. After a while, Elena questions him about possession magic, and he explains it's a little confusing, but his original body is rotting, so now he's borrowing a hobgoblin. She answers, so he's saying it's just a soul, something like that. But Walker answers internally that no, actually, but talking about viruses and reincarnation will only confuse Elena. Magic exists here, Roy even confirmed it, it's best to leave it that way. He tells her to tell the truth, that they met earlier than she thought, that time she wandered aimlessly through the forest. They met by chance, he found her smile beautiful, while Elena, confused, questions the forest. She then asks about time with the goblins. He was the wolf. Walker agrees and claims to wait a second, and if you ask him what he's saying, it's weird to have someone she doesn't know following her, isn't it? He then claims that Elena what they're talking about here, but before it's over, she says she's so happy. Elena says that when she thinks he accompanied her when the guild wouldn't even bother, she rejoices. Walker cries and asks her, if you don't mind, if you can continue to support her. She happily replies that there is nothing she would like more, and please ask that with his strength to support her as much as possible. Walker gets excited to hear that, and says, of course, thanking her. Then Elena mentions that if that's what he wants, let's go quickly, now she's more prepared. But right then, Elena is shocked, and Walker questions what happened. She answers that, on second thought, this room has no way out. Walker questions there's no way out, and Elena confirms with a yes. So Elena claims it looks like a magic circle she fell into brought her here. She looked around looking for a passage, unsuccessful, while Walker thinks that, certainly, looking around, there are only walls. He uses his magic on the wall, so he realizes there's magic leaking on this wall. Walker destroys the wall, and they're both shocked to see what's behind it. while Walker comments that there is so much treasure. Alina claims they're all expensive magical artifacts, but right now, Walker says to wait, that door is releasing an immense power. There looks even bigger than the elf he knew. He transmits that he thinks there's a powerful monster ahead, while Alina, excited, says she needs to take as much home as she can. She then also notes the monster in question's a monster, and Walker claims also these artifacts and a source of healing. After that, Alina screams that she may be a dungeon chief, to which Walker asks what a dungeon chief is, and she replies that she only read about it in books, but is the strongest class in a dungeon. She explains that, unlike normal enemies, no matter how many are killed, he returns, even if they defeat him. In a few days he will return, in addition, gain strength with each rebirth, becoming so strong that no one can defeat him.